Another edition of the Inside Scoop with Invideo. I'm Jeff C, and I'm excited for this one. We've got this incredible Instagrammer. We're going to talk about Instagram, how he grew his account in a short amount of time to 50K followers and above. So really excited about this. As we're going today, as always, we would love for you to sprinkle the love across the interwebs. Let everybody know about this. And also, if you know somebody who's they needed to take their Instagram to the next level, or they're struggling or whatever, you mention them down below, call them into this conversation. Even if they can't join live, being able to see this on the replay is going to be really awesome, because Jeremy is going to drop some knowledge bombs. And as this is also going to be a podcast that Invideo is launching in February, so we want to let you guys know how to get notified about that. So if you go to this link, bit.ly/IV podcast, that's bit.ly/IV podcast, you'll be able to sign up and get notifications when that goes live, and then you can subscribe and you'll be able to get all these awesome experts that we're having on the Inside Scoop here with Invideo. So make sure you guys do that. And I'm going to go ahead and hit record on the old podcast player, and we will get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Inside Scoop, where we're sitting down with one of the most interesting Instagram creators I've come across in a while now. So his name is Jeremy Mura, and he is an incredible designer who has taught more than 40K students on Skillshare. He has an Instagram page where he teaches branding and design and Instagram growth strategies to more than 60,000 followers, and he built that in just a year's time. So he's got an incredible journey to share with us, how he went to a place of complete darkness to a place today that is just wonderful, and he's helped thousands of people online. I'm your host, Jeff C, and you're listening to the Inside Scoop with Invideo. Jeremy, I want to just thank you for taking the time out to come all the way from Australia to be on the show today. And we're going to dive right in, because I know there's so much we can cover, and we're going to learn a ton from you. So before we just get really deep, so can you tell me, why Instagram? Why did you pick this channel? What were you doing before this? And why did you go all in on Instagram?
Yeah, thanks. I just want to say thanks, Jeff, for having me on. Really appreciate it. And I'm excited to share some tips with everyone. But yeah, the first question, why Instagram? I feel like with social media and with personal branding these days, you need to jump on as many platforms as you can. But I do believe you need to tackle one platform when you're just starting out. And then once you dominate that platform, jump onto the next one. And for me, Instagram was a way to connect with other designers. And it was also had a very intricate community of creative people. And I saw it as an opportunity to expand my personal brand, get more clients, share my design work. And eventually it just led to so many more opportunities, because I decided to really push Instagram as a platform, because, we all know it has over 2 billion users. So why not seize that opportunity, because there's so many people on there.
Yeah. So, I get that a lot of designers were out there, but what were you doing before Instagram? Were you designing for clients? Did you go to school for design, or are you all self-taught? I mean, what is your background?
Yeah, so I originally joined Instagram in 2015, and I actually went to university for design. So I did a couple courses in when I was in my early years, like 2012, 2013, and I failed a couple courses, but then I found one course that I really enjoyed, and that was a 2-year bachelor degree and I got a bachelor in graphic design. And then from then in 2016, that's when I launched out in my personal brand. I was freelancing. I was doing freelance jobs for design agencies, also for myself as well. I started my YouTube channel. I started doing Skillshare courses and doing products. I was doing a whole bunch of stuff, but yeah, I was pretty much working for clients, working for myself, and then eventually I got a part-time job as well, and just working with agencies in 2018 and stuff like that.
So was your goal, other than connecting with other designers, was it to build your business? I mean, did you have that goal going into okay, I'm going to start doing this on Instagram, and my end goal is to get more clients, get more views, or what was your thinking that way?
Yeah, I'm always had that business mindset and the entrepreneur mindset. And really it started when I was a bit younger, like around 2015, 2016, where I started listening to people like, Gary
Hmm.
Vaynerchuk, Seth Godin, Tony Robbins, like all these big entrepreneurial people. And that really inspired me to always, think about business, because at the end of the day, we need to build an income, and because with money, you can actually influence more people. It's not about the money itself and about being greedy. No, it's about the more money you have, the more influence you can have to impact people. So I've always gone in, whatever I'm doing, YouTube, Instagram, whatever platform, to actually build my business and also build my personal brand, because everyone wants to connect with people. It's all about people to people connection. So I realized that, it's all about building a personal brand as well. And obviously getting clients, because they all, if you're a
Right.
designer and you're freelance or work for yourself, self-employed, you got to make sure that you're bringing in that income and bringing in more clients. So that's a big thing.
So one of the things that really drew me to your account, and it was a specific post, and we'll try to link to that in the show notes, but you're very transparent in your posts. You shared your journey, like I mentioned at the kind of the intro, where you kind of came from a complete darkness place, not very good, personal life, and kind of went through that, and you were very transparent, which really, I think, drew me to you. So can you just kind of really quickly kind of summarize that story? Because I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, 100%, man. So, yeah, well, I grew up, obviously, the natural beginnings as a kid. My parents were divorced when I was a young age, and then obviously went through, high school, the primary school and high school, and always had that disconnection. My father was present in my life, but we used to see him like on the weekends and stuff.
Hmm.
And then after I finished high school, I was around, because I was a bit younger for my grade. I was around like 17 still, and 18. So I was young, and then I ended up getting into a relationship, and it was sort of my first like long-term relationship. But obviously, I had the wrong perception about it, and it wasn't like, sometimes people think it's love or whatever, but I actually realized it wasn't that. And I was young, I was naive, and ends up got my heart broken. I was
Right.
lied to and cheated on it, and that sort of triggered the point of going into drugs. I used to smoke weed, and I've done cocaine and like all those stuff. I used to party, drinking. You know how people, you've heard probably the
Right.
stories. And then when I was like 21, I was at a mate's birthday party, and this was going on for a period of like 2 to 3 years, so between like 18 and 21 years old. And I was at my friend's 21st, and that day I was on like 25, not 25, on like 5 different substances. So I was like
Oh,
drinking
wow.
alcohol, I
Right.
was doing weed, like we did pills, which is basically ecstasy, and did other stuff. And I was up for 24 hours, and at that moment, I had a sharp pain in my chest, and in the middle of the night, it was like 3 4 a.m., and I was getting really scared. And I thought if I passed, like I thought if I went to sleep and passed out, I wouldn't wake up. So I was actually
Mm.
freaking out. And then I just prayed to God, because I grew up with a sort of that spiritual background. My mum taught me Christian values and things like that. And I just said, God, get me out of this. I don't want to do this anymore. And then ever since that moment, 2 weeks later, I ended up going to church. My friend from my first university course, and then ever since that, I changed my life, and I decided to pursue God and pursue Jesus Christ, and He changed my life. And now I'm just living. I have so many opportunities now, and yeah, it's just been a transformation, man.
Well, that's awesome, and I loved how you aren't overt, but you are overt, but you're not. It's not a church channel. But you bring that into side in your design and how you speak. You're very transparent in all your posts on Instagram. So I think I really like that, and I appreciate you having the courage and the transparency to do that. And I think that may be one of the reasons why your Instagram is so successful, is people can connect with you, because we've all had that transformation is really, I think, appealing to a lot of us. So let's jump back to Instagram, because I mean that's part of your story. But did you
Yeah.
think that when you first went into Instagram it would blow up like that? Did you think that you would get? I mean, a short amount of time, in under a year, you've got over 60,000 followers. That's a big deal. So what was did you like, oh, I knew it was going to take off. That was, I didn't have, or were you like, was there a time you're like, "No, this is really crazy. This is really happening." I mean, tell us your story and how,
Mm.
were you like super confident going in? You like, I'm a designer. I went to school. I can kill this.
Got you, man.
What was your headspace when you first started?
Yeah, well, for me, I'm obviously an observer and a researcher, so I pay attention to what's happening in the design industry, the creative industry. And for me, I was looking at people like Chris Do, and I saw this trend of carousels because in 2019 Instagram brought on carousels, and I was like, okay, and I started seeing people around like middle to towards the end of 2019 started to create carousels. I'm like, okay, this is starting to trend, and I'm starting to see accounts grow. So I'm like, oh, this could be an opportunity. But once I started doing it, I think my first carousel was in end of 2019, but I only really started doing like a daily carousels in like 2020. But to be honest, I didn't really know it was gonna blow up that fast and so quickly. Like some people might think 60K is not a lot, but it's like when I realized, it's like, wow, it's actually a lot of people. But yeah, I never I always had like good expectations, and I'm a man of faith, and I always think positive, and I always envision my future and believe the best and always aim high. And it was just surprising, but yeah, I'm so thankful for it. It's just amazing how I've grown so fast.
Yeah. So you mentioned, you were, of course, we all need business, and we need that to, like, especially when we're a solopreneur or we're doing stuff on our own, that we need to have business come in. And I'm sure that was one of the things. But did you originally want to have it be a place where you could actually help people? Because you mentioned being, inspirational, and most of your posts are that they're helping. You're leading through people through a path to become better. Was that your goal from the very beginning, or was it more of like, I'm going to do this because I know it works, and inspiration posts, that'll get me more followers? Or was it really like, I have this goal, I really want to help people?
Yeah, deep down, like my motive is to actually help people understand their true identity, to reach their true potential. Even though I teach designers, like I love teaching, it's sort of one of my gifts, and because I can really break down complex things and break it and make it really simple for people. And I'm all about helping others. It's not just like to get followers or to get viral, even though like being a content creator, you do want to reach more people, right? But I've always had that heart of like, no, I actually want to help people. Like I respond to every DM, like I respond to almost every comment. And because I really care about people, I want people to prosper. I want people to succeed in life. I want people to have more money, have passive income, so they can help their family, so they can impact more people. So it's all about that, releasing that positive message of life and light, and bringing peace to people, because there's so much negativity around us. So why not interweave positive messages into my content and not just talk about like business or design, and actually share something that's going to bring life to someone no matter what stage of life they're at.
Oh, that's great. I think that's very inspirational. So kind of getting into like some of the, maybe, your mindset again, is like, what was your first metric? Like when you said, I'm going to start on Instagram and making these sort of posts, did you have in your mind, like, I want to hit 10,000 by the second month? Or what was your, like, what goal post did you have that you were shooting for?
Yeah, so originally when I started doing carousels, I was already on around 1,100 followers, and that was like for doing Instagram for like 4 years. But obviously I was just posting like logos and little designs, and I wasn't really getting that much traction. But when I started doing the carousels, my first goal was like, I just want to hit like 10K. I think that was like my first goal, like just get to 10K, because then I can get the swipe up feature. And once you get that swipe up feature, then obviously you can promote products and promote your videos and certain things. So that was my first goal. And once I started seeing carousels like picking up, then I'm like, okay, this is it. And then last year I ended up creating my second milestone, which is like 30,000. And I smashed that goal like last year. And then now my goal this year is to hit over 100,000. And I believe I'll achieve that. But that was my first goal.
Yeah, I think you're well on your way to getting that 100,000 probably by tomorrow. So what metrics are you looking to measure? So a lot of people of course the 10K to get that swipe up feature on Instagram, but are you looking for engagement, or was it just adding followers, or are they kind of tied together?
Yeah, for me, I think one of the most important things is actually engagement. And because at the end of the day, like having an engaged audience of true fans instead of just an audience is way better, because people are going to trust you more, and people buy from people who they know, like, and trust, right? So I think engagement is a big thing. And when I first started out, I was probably getting like 5%, 4% engagement, and now my posts get between 15 to 20% engagement, because I have such a following that respect me and like love my content, that they're always commenting, which I think is really cool. So I think engagement is really important. Followers doesn't really matter. I really pay attention to like profile visits, and obviously you can look at reach and impressions, but I think profile visits and how much reach you're getting, because if your reach is increasing, that means you're expanding your borders and reaching people outside of the normal scope, because you're going to reach new accounts, and that's what you want, really. So those are two things I really pay attention to.
Gotcha. So what would you tell, I know you coach a lot of people, like, and help them with their Instagram, and you have some other products that you sell too, but what is the metric that you really point people to? Is it engagement? Is you like, don't worry about your numbers, engage with people when you first start out, or what is the rule of thumb that you tell people, like a analytic that they need to really always keep their eye on?
Yeah, so once again, I believe like paying attention to your engagement rate and making sure that's high, because you need to be engaged. And one of the strategies that I used to implement when I first started out to get to that 10K was actually the $80 strategy, which is from Gary Vee, which is like the strategy where you find the top 9 posts of a certain hashtag category, and then you're leaving your 2 cents on that post, like a long, big comment that's adding value to the conversation. And I used to do that too, and that helped me boosted me up, because I was replying to a lot of these people, and that increased my engagement, which led other eyeballs seeing my comments and going to my profile. So I really applied that that strategy when I was first starting out. So, but I believe, you need to pay attention to your engagement rate. But obviously, as you grow to like 100, like a big numbers,
right, your
engagement rate might drop. So if you have 100,000, you might have 2%. But obviously that's like 10,000 if you calculate it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if that's not the main metric but I recommend that. But if not, then really look at your reach and try and increase your reach to new accounts, basically.
Awesome. So when you were planning out your content, did you have it all, like, this is always fascinating to me, is how far people plan ahead. Some people are like, yeah, I did like 3 days ahead. And then other people are like, yeah, I had like 6 months done, and that's when I launched. So how do you do it? So, I mean, are you doing it like, do you have I've got the next, week or month, or how far ahead do you plan your content?
Yeah, so I am a big believer in batching, and I try and batch as much as I can. But because I'm always doing so many projects and things, there's always priorities. Like if you've got client work, or if I'm working on a YouTube or a brand deal or something, it's like, okay, got to focus on that. But typically, I try and have a week's worth of content. I'm planning to try and have like 2 weeks to a month. But because I do like daily content, it's actually a lot harder. But if you're someone that only does a couple posts a week, you can do a whole month worth like in one day. It's really easy, depending how fast you are. But for me, I try and have a content day. So Mondays, that's where I'll do my writing and my content creation and create like my carousels that week, right? If I can do 2 weeks, I'll try and do 2 weeks. But because my ideas are very complex and my design is like interesting, I put some time into that. So I try and just do it on a Monday, pump out 5 carousels. If I can't do 5, then I'll just aim for like 3 or 4. And then during the midweek, I'll finish off the rest. And that's how I basically do it. And I do all my writing in Notion. It's my note-taking app. It's an amazing app if you don't have it, guys. And that's what I plan all my, it's like a Trello board where I like have my ideas, and then I have like a column where it's like, okay, I'm writing and then I'm designing. And that's sort of my process of creation. And then obviously I get my graphic assets online from Invideo, and then boom, and then I schedule everything out on using Creator Studio with Facebook.
Awesome. So I want to know, how often do you like experiment with, like, you've kind of got your niche that you're doing, like you've got the inspirational type quotes that you're putting out, and they're carousel posts. Do you ever experiment with like a different type of content? I mean, do you ever go like, I don't want to be stuck in a rut, so I'm going to try this, and if it works, then I'll maybe do some more of those type of posts. Like, how often do you experiment with your content?
Yeah, I feel like I'm always trying to do something a bit different. I see a lot of other people are like playing around with, giveaways and things like that. But for me, I really try and add a bit of quotes. So once again, if I'm focused on like branding and design content, or marketing and stuff like that, then I try and push like some mindset stuff. I'm a big believer in about mindset. And I think that's one of my good traits is I have a strong mindset. And I try and do like little quotes or like pose like questions. And typically I do those posts on the weekends. So on the weekends, I try and do something experimental or different. But Monday to Friday, I'm doing the carousel posts as much as I can. But yeah, that's really me. I don't really spend too much time in it because once again, I'm doing, you know, YouTube and I have to do other stuff, content. But if you're just focusing on Instagram, just pay attention to other creators. Like look at what other people are doing. You don't necessarily have to copy them, but try and extract some things. Like I know one of my friends, Christos, he does like little games and things where people can interact or like they do a quiz, right? Or something like that. So typically that's how I approach that.
Awesome. So you mentioned that your friend there who does it. Where else do you get inspiration from? And is it outside of Instagram or like, I know, once again, I'm always fascinated by where designers get inspired from. You know, some people go to Pinterest and have like mood boards there that they've curated, or because we all run dry. I mean, there's just times where like, I can't, this blank piece of paper is freaking me out. So where do you go? I mean, is there a certain site or do you go for a walk or how do you get inspired?
Yeah, so the way I like get inspiration is really being an observer. So I actually get inspiration from everything. I literally see everything through the eyes of a teacher, and I see everything as a potential piece of content. So it's sort of like a paradigm shift where you have to realize that there's opportunities all around us, right? And I get inspiration from movies. I'm a gamer as well, so I play a bit of games. I get inspiration from games. I read a lot of books. I take courses. I watch a lot of YouTube channels. I follow different, and obviously I'm into different topics. So like I'm not just into design or business, but I'm actually into like marketing, psychology, spirituality, you know, all those different types of things. Also meditating helps me, going for walks. I also love going to the gym as well, looking after my body. That helps me sometimes clear my mind and get ideas. I get ideas in the shower. But for me, it's all about just finding just one, like a headline or a title or an analogy or a metaphor. Like if something pops in my mind, I'll write that down because that one line or word can form into an idea. It does, it takes one word, one thought to turn into an idea, but that's where usually I get my inspiration. And then obviously like, yeah, Pinterest and, you know, Behance,
right.
Other Instagram accounts, whatever I find, I'll just like take screenshots of something if I find it online and drop it into a folder I have. So I can always go back and if I want to tap into some ideas because I'm you know, not inspired in that moment.
Gotcha. I think so. What I'm hearing here is you're finding inspiration from everywhere, but the key is that you're capturing it. Like you said, you put it in a folder, you take a picture or whatever. So I think that's a huge takeaway. That's a tweetable moment there, folks, is that, yeah, he's seeing that inspiration, but he's capturing it. So I think that's key. And that's, I think, a great takeaway. So, and I know you get this all the time, and it's probably one of the most Instagram influencers get asked, like, okay, how often should I post? What frequency should I post at? So can you tell me what, you know, you recommend for other people who are just getting started, like people you're coaching, and then what you actually do, the frequency that you post on Instagram?
Yeah, so I assume that most people like have a day job, right? So they can't really do as much content as they can. But if you're just starting out, I recommend doing at least 3 times a week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And if you have to like sacrifice your weekends or sacrifice Netflix, right, you got to put in the effort. If you want to grow, you got to put in effort, guys. You can't be lazy. It takes time, right, to build, and it's all about building momentum. So if you can do at least 3 days a week, then I think that's good. You don't have to do carousels, but I think carousels is a great way. Obviously, carousels was trending back in end of 2019 and 2020. Some people think it's dying out, but you know, just you got to experiment with different types of content. As long as you're consistent, then it's going to help you out. So I recommend 3 days a week. You know, when you come home from work. For me, I do basically Monday to Friday. So I do 5 days a week of carousels. And then usually on the weekends, I'm a bit more quieter. But I'll try and do like maybe 1 or 2 like quotes or just like single posts. Because carousels take a lot longer, but one single post can take me like 10 minutes to do, right? So that's how I approach that. And then obviously another tactic I use is actually doing daily stories. Which I find really, a lot of people love that. They love a motivational growth tip every day that I just share something in my stories that keeps my audience engaged. It allows me to share my carousels or talk about upcoming projects I'm working on or whatever, but just always constantly inspiring, using as many features as I can on Instagram to just make sure that people are seeing my content.
Gotcha. So I think that one of the things I wanted to ask you from that was you mentioned that some people have said that carousels are kind of not as popular as they once were. Are you ever going to switch from doing carousels? I mean, what will make you decide to change tactics on your Instagram feed, because that Instagram feed is carousel posts?
Yeah, good question. The way I see it, in the design community, it's like being overused, right? But if you think about all these other industries and like and other areas, a lot of clients are not even using carousels. So it's like there's potentially untapped markets that are not even using it yet, right? But because if you're in that tight-knit creative community and design community, you will see it everywhere. But there's obviously like other industries that are not even using it yet. So I feel like for me, I'm going to stick with it because it's working for me. And that's why I encourage you guys, like, you need to find what works for you and focus on doing that. You know, carousels have worked for me. I've used that momentum. And obviously I had a few viral posts as well that helped me grow really, really fast. But yeah, that's how I'll approach that. But I'm always like, you know, the way I see the future is that video will always be winning because video is the future, AI and video basically. And then we got VR, we got AR. And because I'm already a YouTuber, I can always repurpose my YouTube content and put that into an IGTV or a reel. So that's like plan B if I were to switch. But yeah, that's how I'll approach that.
So how often are you using IGTV? And I know we've just been talking about your feed, but how often are you using like Instagram stories, reels, and IGTV? Like, do you have like a content strategy for those as well?
So I'll be honest, I don't really have a content strategy for IGTV. I don't really use IGTV that much. I was doing some like, for me, it's my main thing is that I do live calls with people. So I'll jump on an Instagram live and save that to my IGTV on my account.
Gotcha.
That's one way I'll do that. But I'm not really focusing on IGTV because it's not the reach on there is not as high anymore like it used to be. Reels reach is better because it's a new feature and Instagram's trying to push that. I'm not really focusing on reels because once again, people love carousels, so I'm just focusing on that. But I will drop a little tutorial here and there because I do have a couple of reels. Like I've got one that hit 90,000 reach, and I have other ones that got like 50,000 reach. So reels was really good, and it took me like 10 minutes just to do a short video. So really consider it if you've got the time to do those videos. But yeah, if you can do both like carousels and reels, then that will actually help you go fast if your content is really good.
Gotcha. Yeah. So that good content is key. Don't just turn the camera and stare at it. So one of the questions so your design is very, very strong. You can tell that you are a designer by profession and studied it. But what I want to know is like, you know, your sense of style really pops, and like you said, when you do the carousel post, the design flows, it tells a story. So it catches your attention right from like the colors to the fonts. Did you plan all that? Did you have like design guides and mood boards and all those are really popular? Did you have a visual style guide that you came up with first? Or did this kind of happen organically, or did you see somebody else's and say, you know, I kind of like that color there, but I want this font from over here and I'm going to put it together in my own way? How did you come up with your like visual style?
I think it naturally progressed over time. For me, when I launched my personal brand in 2016, I actually was already using the color orange. So for me, people think it's like, oh, is it magic? I'm using orange. It's like, no, it's just, you pick something related with your personality. Like I'm high energy. I'm a very passionate person. I'm very outspoken. So it's like, that represents my color. And I've been using orange, obviously, but I've changed the colors slightly. But that was already back from 2016. So that's why I picked those colors. In terms of like, you know, textures and like imagery and stuff like that, I did get inspired by other people, like obviously like Chris Do using a condensed font. And because I'm a practical designer, obviously like condensed font and carousel is a small space on Instagram, on phone. So you need to have like fonts that really work. And then obviously I love playing with texture because I actually have my own texture packs that I've made from scratch.
Oh, cool.
Like, you know, from photography and playing with tech and like actually with paint, acrylic paint. and I actually sell those template packs. So why not use my own textures in my work, right? So
Right.
I love that gritty, grungy feel. I'm a big fan of like retro vintage. I love watching, so, and like in America, they've got all those old school vintage shops, and I get a lot of inspiration from like the junk shops and things. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's cool, and that's why I have like really cool textures. And then for me, the whole like 3D imagery, I feel like 3D is sort of been better over the last few years, and it's increasing in being more popular, like in trending. And I just like the look of 3D. I think it's really cool. So that's why I just started using that. But yeah, it just naturally progressed over time, and I have different likes and dislikes than other people. But
Right.
one more thing as well is in terms of design. Whenever you guys design something, you need to have contrast, right? So have a main primary color and then have a dark color, and that's why I have like an orange, and then I've got like a black for the backgrounds, and I can flip it and it'll still be readable. You need to make
Mm.
sure that your text is readable on small, screen sizes. So I encourage everyone to always have contrast, and have colors that match, because some people have like 3-4 colors, they're muddy, they don't connect well. There's no contrast. The contrast could be too low. So that's just my tip on that.
Those are great tips. So, one of the things we probably, because we've been talking about carousels because that's in your feed a lot, but Janice asks, what are carousels? So we should have probably said this at the very beginning, but let's break it down. So explain what a carousel post is on Instagram.
So a carousel is made up of 10 slides where you can flick through. So as you swipe to the left, you can have up to 10 slides on Instagram. And basically, that's what a carousel is. It's also, the term carousel is used in web design where you have like an image gallery, and then the carousel, the images just slide naturally across. That's basically what a carousel is. And yeah, and that's what it's all about.
So anybody can use those on Instagram. That's part of the thing. You don't have to have the swipe up, because I know a lot of people are like, what can I post? What features do I have? So that's available to everybody. One of the things I want to talk about too is like when you first started, how much time were you devoting like creating content versus like engaging with people, like responding? You mentioned you respond to everybody's DMs and comments and all that stuff, and then analyzing what was working. So did you have all those equal, or were you like, I'm creating, I don't care about stats right now, I just need to get going? And how would you recommend that for other people? Like, do you say, don't worry about numbers when you first start, just create content? What is your advice, to break? Because there's a lot of stuff that you can do, and people can get focused on just their numbers, or I'm just going to engage and I'm not going to have really good content, I'm just going to do stories. So break that down and tell us what you recommend for people to do on Instagram.
Yeah, I feel like you need to have a mix of things. So you need to have, number one, good content. If you're not putting out practical, applicable content that people can use, and it's not, and design it in an interesting way, then you need to have that first. And then you need to have engagement. So you need to be reaching out, doing the $1.80 strategy if you can, or reach out, comment on people's posts, share some of your main influences, connect with 20 people every day, and get into people's DMs, jump on live calls. And if you mix all that, then that's really gonna really help you grow faster. I don't recommend focusing on your numbers. Just focus on putting good content out and actually engaging people, replying to comments, researching hashtags, and exploring those type of things. Because if you keep looking at your numbers, you're gonna get discouraged, because it's like, oh, why am I not growing, right? And you got to realize that it's a process. You need momentum, and it took me months. Like it took me 4 months to hit 10K, and then not like another 5 months to hit 50K. And obviously, because I was posting every day, I was increasing my chances of getting seen, and the algorithm recommending my content to people. And if you're consistent, then the momentum is a snowball effect. It starts off small, but it keeps going. But if you give up after a few months because it's like, oh, my followers are not growing, you've given up too early. You need to actually go for 6 months, 7 months, and then see the results. Another big thing as well, I recommend focusing on systems. So have a process or a system in place where you can create content really, really fast. For me, when I first started out, I was doing 3 to 5 hours every day, like responding to comment, like on Instagram, doing those techniques and like responding and DMing and all that stuff. So every day I was like a lot of hours. Now I only spend probably an hour to 2 hours a day on Instagram. And in creating content, it'll take me like sometimes half a day. I'm very quick. Sometimes it'll take me 30 minutes, 20 minutes just to do a carousel, right? If I'm like using an old carousel or it's just a simple idea. But sometimes it'll take me a half a day to do it, or sometimes a full day if the ideas are more complex and I got to do research. But if it's something that I teach from experience, it's a lot easier because I know how that thing works. So if you can teach from experience, you will actually know, you'll have the knowledge on that topic that you're sharing a lot better. So I hope that helps. It's a lot of tactics, but
yeah. So before we go deeper down this rabbit hole, because I got to a question I want to follow up with that, is I wanted to remind everyone who is watching that this is going to be a podcast. And if you'd like to be notified when we go live with the podcast, we're going to launch the first part of February, and you can hear great episodes like, and I'm sure you want to listen to this one again because he's dropping knowledge bombs left and right. But you can go to bit.ly/IV podcast. That's bit.ly/IV podcast and sign up and get notified for when this podcast has come out and other shows that are coming up. You'll want to make sure that you do that. So go to that URL on screen and you can find out more. So you mentioned when you were, to be consistent. That's what you were pretty much saying. I think that what you were giving those tips before. The question I have for you is, okay, let's say I've been going for a year or so and it's still stagnant. When do I pivot? When do I say, okay, the content I'm doing isn't resonating with my audience? How long should I keep going down the path before I pivot? Because I've seen a lot of people stop before they reach the finish line. And then I've also seen people like, they should have stopped a long time ago. You know what I'm saying? So how do you know? Where's that time where you go, man, I need to try something different?
So I recommend every month reflecting on your analytics. You can easily go on your analytics by going to Instagram, click the 3 lines and go into the insights tab, and that will give you all the insights. I check my insights on flick.tech. That's a really cool app as well you can use. So every month reflect and see what content is performing the best. Instagram will tell you like what posts will have the highest reach and impressions and likes. I think one of the key metrics to follow is like saves. Saves are better than likes, and comments are probably the best thing as well. Comments and saves are the most important. So look at your posts, what's performing well, and do more of that. Try and recreate that same content, because if you recreate that, most likely you can potentially go viral again or get a high reach again, because you might feel like, oh, I've already done that idea or I've already done that. But realistically, because you're always getting new accounts and every time you do a new post, you can reach someone new, then other people haven't seen it yet, right? So it's like, try and recreate some of your best content. And if your content isn't performing well, like maybe you don't have some that are not doing well, then, revise your strategy. Maybe, you're not niched down enough. You really need to niche down. Maybe your bio needs more tuning. Maybe you're not engaging enough. So those are the things I recommend if you need to pivot every month.
Those are great. So the question that I got also is like, and you mentioned a couple of posts that you had that went viral. So I want to know what the trajectory of your growth was. Was it like a hockey stick where things just started going up and, or was it a certain post where all of a sudden like, oh, I've got all these followers and it just started snowballing like you had talked about earlier? Like how much time did it take for you to get that first 10K? And then like next what would be like when you got to that 50K mark? So I'm just interested to see, how the growth has happened and, what people should typically expect.
Yeah, so it has been a hockey stick growth. I'll agree with that. But I think I mentioned before, but the first 10K followers, that took me 4 months to build. Then to hit the 50K mark, it was 9 months. And when I was around the 90-day mark of posting at least 4 to 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, at 90 days, I was at 7K followers. And so you can really see the growth during the first, part of it was slow, right? It wasn't really, really fast. But then when it hit a certain midpoint, that's when it started going really hard. And yeah, there was a few specific posts that I did really well that got over 100,000 reach and 150,000 impressions. And it was it really helped me just boost my channel, give that little kick. And I think one of the months or one of the weeks I got like 10,000 followers in just like that one like few weeks. It was crazy.
Gotcha. So I want to, because you mentioned how important engagement was, so I want to talk about that as well. And I've talked to a lot of Instagram influencers, and they say this is kind of standard, is as you grow, your engagement rate can drop a lot. I mean, compared to what you have. So what do you do to offset that? Or, what did it look like when you first got started versus what it is now? I mean, do you have to double down on engaging people as your account grows, or how does that work?
Yeah, so for me, like obviously when you like Instagram wants you to spend money on ads, and that's why they restrict your reach and your percentage of engagement sometimes. So as you grow, it's okay to, if your engagement drops a little bit, that like the average, but the thing is though, like it can tell your average is like this amount, but if you go into your analytics and see each post can have like a over 10% like engagement rate. So for me, what I do is that I just make sure that all my DMs are at 0, all my comments are at 0. And one of the ways I do that is by going to Facebook. And if you connect Instagram to your business, Facebook Business Manager, you can actually just reply to comments online. So I can go to all my posts, even my old posts, and just scroll down and quickly reply to comments very fast, in a very fast way. But yeah, if your engagement is not like growing like crazy, then, don't worry about it too much. Just focus on your content or focus on your call to action. So your CTAs, like on your slides, are you asking questions? Maybe think about writing better captions. Like, are you telling stories in your captions, right? So for me, I know if I'm being lazy with my captions, then I'm not inspiring, or I'm not motivating, or I'm not posing a question. But if you have a clear call to action to respond in the comments, that's why I always ask a question like, what's your journey like? Let me know in the comments below. Or do you have something to add? What's one tip you'll add to this? So those are some examples of like how you can get people to actually respond. You need to ask people. You can't expect people just to comment or save or whatever. Encourage them by having a clear call to action on your last slide and posing a question, because that's going to get people to want to react to that. Gotcha.
So let's talk about the content formats, because we've talked a lot about carousels, and that's what you use, and that's what's helped grow your account. But you are a designer, and you could probably make any type of post look really good on Instagram. I mean, you can do single posts and all that stuff. So you have a little bit more things in your toolbox there. But how do you know what advice do you give to people? What kind of content they should make? How is someone supposed to decide if they should make video posts, or they should make carousel posts, or they should do single posts, or do quote graphics, or what do you teach people on the ways that to figure out what works for you? Is it just, the one that you enjoy the most, or do you do all of them and then see which one works the best? I mean, how do you tell people how the way that they can really zero in and focus down on the type of content they post on Instagram?
Yeah, so you really need to ask yourself the question first, like, how much time do I have? If you're busy and you have kids, or you got a full-time job or whatever, like, you got to try and focus on things or the type of content that is going to take the least amount of time but bring the most value to your audience to grow your account, right? So obviously videos take time, right? But a hack is like, okay, you can just jump on a 30-minute live call and just use that piece of content and cut it up, use it as IGTV and cut it up into a reel, or put it in your stories, right? So you need to find whatever's the easiest for you. There's a lot of accounts that I see that just do like motivational quotes. Those things are easy and fast to create, right? You can even do that in Canva. You don't need to be a designer to create posts. You can use Canva or Trello, which is amazing. And obviously Invideo, they have amazing templates too. But you need to, find something that is gonna be easy and fast to create. But back to motivational quotes. Sorry, motivational quotes don't add as much value, because you can't really fit that much text or much design on one single post, right? Gotcha. And it's obviously overused and saturated. Like, there's so many accounts like billionaire mindsets and money accounts that like share like quotes from like famous people, Elon Musk and all those type of people. So those things have less, like not as much value compared to like you can share a story in a short carousel, right? Or you can do a 1 minute video and drop like 5 tips in a video. But the key is back to the whole point of like consistency. If you just create then an experiment, you're going to have data to extract, and so you can see what's the easiest to make, what's working, what am I getting the best impact out of, and then just double down on that thing, right? That's what I would recommend.
Gotcha. Well, it couldn't be an Instagram show without this question. Like, okay, let's talk about hashtags, right? So how important are hashtags, and how do you leverage them for your account? And like, how integral do you think that they are to your growth?
To me, hashtags don't really matter as much. Like I'm more of a guy that focuses on relationships. I think relationships are key, because if you build real relationships and do collaborations with people, that's a way better way in getting a lot more reach and expanding your profile. But hashtags, I don't find them that important. Obviously, if you're just starting out, they might help you get new eyeballs or new content, but it's only good if you're getting into the top 9 posts. So the top 9 posts is when you're posted at the top of that hashtag category in the top 9 squares, because people have low attention spans. The industry average is like 7 seconds or whatever. Right. So people are going to be scrolling fast, and they might skim across your image. And if your image is not popping and bright and like interesting, they're not going to click on it, right? So for me, I use flick.tech to manage my hashtags. And the cool thing about that platform is that it actually shows me my top ranking hashtags. So I can reuse some of the best hashtags that are working for me. And then just obviously I tweak it for each post. So I swap out like 5 to 10 so it's relevant to my post. Because if you constantly reuse the same hashtags, some hashtags can not work or get ranked for.
Right.
So I mix it up, and yeah, that's how I approach hashtags. But I don't think it's, for me, creating better stories and better content and collaborating is more valuable than focusing on hashtags.
So can you say that tool one more time you mentioned for your hashtags?
It's called Flick. So Flick. And if you just go flick.tech, check the website. It is a subscription, but I think they do a trial. Check it out. It's really good. It shows you analytics, it analyzes your hashtags, and also shows you your content analytics as well. So I think it's really cool.
Awesome. We'll check it out. So I want you to like, if you can think of your top tip that you did right, that you could recommend to people that would help them grow quickly on Instagram, or at least see some progress. Because I know a lot of people start and they kind of stagnates. And so what would be your number one tip for people when to get started on Instagram?
Yeah, so my number one tip is just to be consistent. You need to be creating content. You can't expect magically the followers to come out of nowhere. And, like for me, I did everything organically. I didn't buy followers. I didn't do bots, none of that. Like those things don't work. You need to be consistent, because each time you do a new post, it can potentially, go viral. It can potentially get a lot of reach. You can potentially meet someone, or someone can see it, be like, oh, I love this. This is really cool. And they could DM you and collaborate with you. And then, all of a sudden you're having a live call, or you're doing a guest post for them, and they might have higher followers than you, right? So being consistent is probably the best thing. And that's one of the things that I stick with. You need discipline with content creation. It's not easy. It's you got to stick with it. So then you can, have the data and see what's working, and, get more eyeballs on your posts. Because, even the industry standard, Instagram only shows your content to like 10% of your audience anyway, right? So it's like, if you're posting daily and being consistent, then you're going to increase your chance of Instagram recommending your post, because that person is liking, engaging with that your content. And if someone keeps engaging with your content, then Instagram thinks that showing that your audience or that person that's interacting more of your content is good for them. So then you're going to get recommended more. So that's probably like one of my best advice. yeah, be consistent.
Awesome. So this last question, I think this is going to bring us full circle from where we started, because there's been a lot of knowledge bombs, a lot of great content that Jeremy has shared with us today. But there's a lot of people who say, well, Instagram is just super saturated. It's too late to get started here in 2021. And I know you have a very interesting take on this. So what do you say to those people, and what does it take to win on Instagram in this next year?
Mm-hmm. So I always have the more positive outlook and not the negative, because every platform is saturated. There's always someone else that does what you do. Like there's millions of designers out there. There's hundreds and thousands of people who are running their business, or in certain industry or niche. So I think the best thing is to don't focus on if it's saturated, but focus on niching down and seeing how you can provide the best content and create something different. Niche down, add your own personality to the content, add your own spin, add your own experience, because people want to see the true you. They want to see, they love seeing honest stories and hearing things from your perspective. So if you do that, then people are going to come and they'll want to hear your story.
Awesome. That's great advice. So thanks, Jeremy, so much for letting us pick your brains and for sharing all this great advice for Instagram. And I want to let you have a chance to let people know where they can find you, what you have to offer, and just where they can connect with Jeremy Mura.
Yeah, awesome. So you can find me on Instagram at the Jeremy Mura. And you can also find me on YouTube if you want to learn more about design, branding, or business. You can find me, just type in Jeremy Mura Design on YouTube, and you can find my channel there. I'm also on Skillshare. I do courses there, which is really cool. But you can come say hello. I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. Come say hi. Always happy to answer your questions and help you out. Thanks so much, Jeff.
That's awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for joining in. Don't remember that if you would like to get notified when this podcast comes out, to go to bit.ly/IV podcast. That's bit.ly/IV podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching today. See you next time. Okay, we're clear. We're still live though, but because we have one question that I wanted to bring up, and this is from Janice. She asked this question of you: how does a food blogger use carousels? I thought that was a great question. I wanted to see if you had an answer for that.
Food blogger. So when it comes to food, you need to have amazing photography. Teach a topic that about your process, or how you go about food blogging, how you get your ideas. You can talk about creating carousel of how you write out your thoughts, or where you get inspiration, what blogs do you visit. There's so many of these things you can use and put it into a carousel. It doesn't have to be 10 slides. You can just do 5 slides if you want, so that's how I would approach that. Just talk about how you do your job, or how you get your inspiration, or important things that to think about when it comes to food. Think about in a business mindset, what will small businesses be looking for or need help with, and solve that problem by teaching that topic.
That's a great point. You could have, your picture of your food, like Jeremy was saying, a real awesome food photography, and then share the recipe, and some of those other slides. Do you typically use all 10 on yours, Jeremy, when you do your?
Yes. Okay. I use all 10. It just allows me to, be more creative with the design, and also just retain people longer. Yeah. Awesome.
Well, Jeremy, thank you so much. I don't want to take up any more of your time. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for Kelly for watching, and Arthur for watching as well. So appreciate you guys. Appreciate Jeremy. We'll see you guys next time. Bye now.
Thanks, man. Cheers. Yeah.